Can I explain something in case y'all don't know this?
Please.
The little LBGTQSers and who all they are don't have jobs. You understand, right?
Wow, that's a tall claim. So gay people don't have jobs. All right, go on. I'm listening. Let him cook. Let him cook. He may have more to say. Let's see.
They smoke weed from the time they get up to the time they go to bed in their mother's basement. That's your little rainbow people.
Okay. This is Shane Vaughn. If you're unfamiliar with him, he is a MAGA preacher. He literally believes that Trump is the Messiah. He believes that Jesus was a Messiah, and now Trump is the new Messiah for New Israel, which is the United States. And that's really why he got famous, was for preaching about Donald Trump as a Messiah. But here's an interesting little secret about the guy that you may not have been aware of. Before he got famous doing his whole pastor grift that he does here, he went to jail a couple of times. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. Not for nothing. I mean, I've had my run-ins with the law. I'm not perfect. You know, I was an addict for a while. But I accept those flaws about myself and try to better myself. Shane Vaughn apparently criticizes the LGBT community for not having jobs, quote-unquote, which is completely statistically inaccurate. Isn't the LGBT community disproportionately wealthy compared to some other communities or something like that? I don't know. And smoke weed? What? Shane Vaughn criticizes these people for doing this stuff when he went to jail a couple of times. Matter of fact, here's one of his mugshots. This is just one of them. Here's another mugshot right here. How many times did this dude go to jail? At least twice minimum. I think 3. Because he went to jail recently for making a huge ruckus on a plane, refusing to wear a mask. You can refuse to wear a mask or whatever, but when you get violent with the people around you, you deserve a little jail time, right? So anyway, the guy, apparently, from my understanding, I've read a story on his charges about why he was in jail. From what I remember, don't quote me on this, it could be incorrect. You should look this up yourself. I believe that the guy was an insurance salesman, like a life insurance salesman, and he was taking out policies on people that were older because he had access to their private information, like their social security number. He took out policies on people and listed them as different ages and stuff so that the policy would be cheaper, and when they died, listed himself as a beneficiary and basically made himself rich doing that, and then ended up in prison because it was a grift. Now I guess the guy's got another grift he's got going on. Like I said, I accept the flaws about myself. I accept the fact that I've had my run-ins with the law and that I've had to improve myself and better myself and everything. But when Shane Vaughn comes in here accusing a whole group of people, an entire demographic, gay people, of being jobless, when he has a past like that, it's just embarrassing, man. Straight up embarrassing. Let's listen to the rest of this video, because there's actually more, if you can believe it. Check this out.
The little rainbow people, they don't go to jobs because they can't mind bosses. Nobody's going to tell them what to do. So now Target knows that the LGBTQIFZ and O, those people have to shoplift because they don't have money.
Wait, okay. I'm just trying to draw out the picture here. I'm so confused by this. So gay people don't have money because they don't have jobs because they can't handle having a boss. So they shoplift. And Target wants to give them things that they like so that they will shoplift those things. Is that what you're telling me? What? And also, you notice that one joke that he told, LGBTQOLMJF? That's like the one joke that anti-LGBT boomers have to give. Like, come on, man. Please move. Like, give us something new. Something. I hear that joke entirely too often. It's LGBT at the very least. You can add more letters if you choose. LGBTQ, LGBTQIA. I mean, there are a number of acronyms that stand for different groups. I just go with LGBT because it's kind of all-encompassing and everybody understands what I'm talking about generally. If people wanted me to move to something different, then I would. I mean, I have no opposition to it. I just don't use any others. Okay, so back to Shane Vaughn now. He's telling us that the gay community is broke and live in their mom's basements, and they have to shoplift, okay? And Target specifically appeals to the gay community because they're broke and they shoplift. Go on.
Shoplift because they don't have money. You know, they just live kumbaya. They think boys are girls, girls are boys. They think money falls on trees. So Target hates you because they know you've got the power.
Okay, I feel like I'm missing a chain in here somewhere. Like, where you just like went completely off the rails with this. Nothing you just said made any sense. It is one of the stupidest things that I have ever heard in my life. As a concept, you just presented me with something that is complete nonsense. And I don't know what you want me to do with it, honestly. God, that should be memed. So gay people don't have any money, and they shoplift. And Target puts out gay pride stuff because they know that gay people shoplift. And Target is punishing you for what? What are they punishing you for? For not being gay and broke?
Because they know you've got the power.
Oh, they're punishing you because they know you have the power. The power of Captain Planet? Like, what? I don't understand. This is the conservative response to Pride Month right now. This is what's happening at the very start of Pride Month 2023. But if you think this is weird, keep listening to this video. We have more videos, more examples of how far-right extremists are reacting to Pride Month. And honestly, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. I am cracking up at some of this stuff. It is so ridiculous, it's funny.
Because they know you've got the power. You middle-aged, conservative Christians, you got this. Yeah, they know it, and they hate you because they have to bow down to you.
Wait, I don't understand. So you've got money. He kind of rubbed his fingers together implying they have money. So gay people don't have money, but middle-aged conservatives do have money. So Target is appealing to the gay community because they shoplift? Because what? I don't understand. I'm so lost. There is nothing in this chain of thought that made any sense at all. Like, nothing. It was all, honestly, about hating gay people, and that's it. I don't know what else to do with this. Check this one out. This is from mid-July 2022. It was shortly after Pride Month, but this is a Wisconsin representative talking about Pride Month in 2022.
In Wisconsin, we consider June Dairy Month,
right? But
there are apparently some congressmen who consider June Gay Month.
June is Dairy Month in Wisconsin for him, okay?
And they were flying the gay flag over American embassies.
The gall.
So again, you can imagine if you're in a foreign country and you see the American embassy and you view it as representative of the American government.
Yeah, totally. Seeing a pride flag over an American embassy, I can see how that gives somebody PTSD. That's pretty bad, right? That's terrible.
Representative of the American government, representative of hope America is to the world, and you see the gay flag, it's like, what's that? Well, apparently maybe that's the secret to America's wealth and prosperity.
Being more accepting? Yes. Yes, in fact, it is the secret to wealth and prosperity. It is every time we open up rights and give people more power over their own lives, the United States flourishes. The U.S. improves. The economy improves. Everything improves. Do you have any idea what impact bringing in, basically opening the floodgates to immigrants would have on the United States? it would boost our economy like you wouldn't believe. You know why China is trying to get their people to have kids right now? Because more people creates a stronger, larger economy. The more people are involved in an economy, the larger that economy is. Now, a while back, China had to slow their growth because, there are problems with a large number of people coming in all at the exact same moment and taking, pension funds and things like that. You have to basically temper it and make sure that it's kind of a slow trickle in, because it could cause problems if it all floods in at the same time. But people are not really immigrating to China. They don't really have that option. The United States is in a unique position to take as many immigrants as we want, or refugees. I mean, there is a difference there. The United States doesn't have to have children to boost our economy. We can open the floodgates and let in as many immigrants and refugees and whoever else wants to come in as possible. Let them in. Let them in. There is literally no downside to this. You know why people oppose letting immigrants in? This is an argument that came from the KKK long and long ago. The anti-immigration stance has been parroted by the KKK for 100 years. It's because they don't want somebody that's not white coming in to their country. Notice they never complain about how many German immigrants are coming in. Notice they never complain about Norwegians or Australians coming in and dirtying up the country, as Tucker Carlson said about Mexicans coming over the border. He said they're making the country dirtier, a dirtier place, and a more dangerous place. Whether they realize it or not, the reason why people don't want immigration into the United States is racism. Plain and simple. They may not even be aware of that. It's white supremacy. They might not be aware that they're supporting that. But all of the talking points that are anti-immigration are fabricated. None of them hold any water. Immigration could not possibly be better for this country. Open the floodgates. This is just one example of a nonsensical position being held by the Republican Party that started with racism. That may not be how you got there. That may not be why you're there. You may not even be aware that that's in the mix anywhere. But it exists because of racism originally, because of white supremacy originally. Anyway, let's keep listening to this Wisconsin representative, Grothman, I think his name is.
And maybe that's the secret to America's wealth and prosperity.
It's immigration, actually. The secret to the U.S.'s wealth and prosperity is immigration and acceptance, turning into a melting pot, getting everybody together to work together, diversity, live together. People scientists speculate that over 800 languages are spoken in New York City. Over 800 languages, imagine that. New York City is massive and has an incredible economy. And it's maybe the most diverse city in the world. I don't know, maybe. It's not poorer or dirtier because gay people are here, because immigrants are here. It's a better place for those reasons.
So this is just absolutely a horrible thing. Last week we had a bill pass the House. I don't think it will pass the Senate. Every Democrat voted for it, every one of them, requiring on the census or other government forms, surveys that are out there, people listing so-called sexual preference.
There was a bill that passed the House and was going to the Senate. That means it's probably not going to pass because it has to pass through the House and through the Senate, and it has to be signed by the governor to actually become a law. So it probably meant nothing. But what was that again? It was list sexual preference on a census? Why would you be opposed to that? I don't understand. More information is valuable. I mean, you don't have to answer that question if you don't want, I would say. But more information is valuable, isn't it?
Listing so-called sexual preference, which is repugnant.
What's repugnant about it?
Can you imagine asking an 8-year-old child, what is your sexual preference? But that's what...
Wait, do you think it's 8-year-old children that are filling out censuses, like U.S. government census data? You think 8-year-olds are getting those slips and filling them out and licking the envelope and putting the stamp on and writing their address down and sticking it in the box? You think it's 8-year-olds doing all that? Of course it's not. It's the parent doing it. And you know what? The parent can choose if they want to ask the kid or not. You just leave that blank if you don't want to ask the kid. But trust me, the kid probably already knows what his sexual preference is by 8 years old. I'd be willing to bet. I knew by 8 that I liked girls.
Can you imagine asking an 8-year-old child, what is your sexual preference? But that's what they want. I'm sure they want it to, break down any innocence that the children have. But every Democrat.
It's all about the children, huh? The children. Oh, the children. They're in danger. Won't somebody think of the children? Talked about this recently, but there's a clip from a 1950s case study on integration. People moving into this neighborhood. This black family called the Myers moving into a neighborhood. And this woman was asked about her feelings on integration, whether or not the Myers should be allowed to move into this neighborhood, right? Just listen to her answer here. It's very revealing.
The past slips through despite what is said. Being for Myers can be difficult if one's background rejects this decision.
Some of the people are definitely against integration. And they have told my children that they have to marry. And my child doesn't even know what a is, but from the sound, it has scared them, and they have come home just crying. Mommy.
Isn't that fascinating? All the way back in the 1950s, you had people on the right scaring children and telling them you are going to be forced to marry a black person. You must, because that's part of integration. And all the while, scaring the parents half to death, making them think that that's going to be part of the deal too. If being gay is normalized, you're going to be forced to marry a gay person. Your children are going to be forced to marry a gay person. They're trying to brainwash your children into marrying somebody of the same sex. This movement, the right in the United States, has always, since the beginning, tried to use children as a political tool to scare the shit out of old people. And it's not even the right in the United States. It's not even for the past 100 years or so. It's been going on like this since, forever. Something called a moral panic, which is what we're watching happen right now. I've talked about a moral panic before. I'm not going to go into it too much, but there's a model, stages that you go through when you start a moral panic. Some examples of a moral panic would be the Satanic Panic, probably the most famous moral panic in the United States, I would say. Then there's the Salem witch trials. That one's pretty famous, too. The moral panic about witches coming to get you, right? That's where the term witch hunt came from. It was a moral panic over witches that was fabricated. Anything and anybody could be a witch, right? And then there's a moral panic over screens, over TV. Oh, it's damaging our kids' minds. It's brainwashing them. It's hurting them. They're not going outside. There's a moral panic over cell phones. Moral panic over books. If you go back far enough, they've always got their nose in those books. Why don't they get their nose out of the book and actually go play? There's a moral panic in every generation. And here we are listening to another moral panic.
On it to, break down any innocence that the children have. But every Democrat in the House of Representatives voted for it. And
you're right. So the vote was put a checkbox on the census to tell us your sexual orientation. Are you gay? Are you straight? Are you what? And he says that's hurting children. It's coming after children. I mean, it's unglued from reality.
And we have to ask what they had in their mind and why they are doing it and why the Democrat Party is so owned by the gay lobby that every single Democrat voted to say, yes, we think a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old ought to be asked what their sexual preferences. Do you feel like a transgender, whatever?
I'm sorry. Well, you think a 4-year-old is going to be asked to complete a census form? I actually did the census for my family. I just, wrote down 3 people in the household, answered the few questions, and sent it off. It was online, actually. I did the online census thing. You think parents are going to be asking their kids what their sexual preference is? Give me a break. Nothing more than a moral panic, plain and simple.
Gender, whatever. Which is just another example of the moral decline that's being encouraged by the government.
Moral decline, right. Encouraged by the government by putting pride flags outside of our embassies. That was where this originally started, remember? And now he's talking about a census question. What's your sexual orientation? My God, dude. Like, these people are shameless. They're full of it, and they know they're full of it, and they repeat it anyways. Check this out. This is Greg Locke. He's about to tell us how he feels about Pride Month. This is a little bit older.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Oops, sorry. Wrong clip. Didn't mean to play that one. Ignore that. I meant to play this one. June 11th, 2021. That's the one I meant. All right, let's listen to Greg Locke talk about the LGBT community. All the way back, Pride Month 2021.
Real love does not take an entire month of a year to celebrate something that you know God clearly calls an abomination in the Bible.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to have to debunk this as we go along. The Bible mentions being gay a total of 6 times in 6 verses. I think 2 of them are New Testament, 4 are Old Testament. Since they're Old Testament, largely part of the old law, we're done with it. They're over with. We pay no attention to them anymore. Just like we pay no attention to the law that says no eating pork, no eating shellfish, no wearing polyester, the whole 9 yards. We don't pay attention to those laws, and we don't pay attention to the anti-gay law either, right? A lot of people point to Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed for being gay or whatever. Actually, Sodom and Gomorrah was not destroyed for being gay. It was destroyed because of its ill treatment of the poor. Ezekiel talks about why it was destroyed. At no point does it say it was destroyed because they were gay. Now, as far as the New Testament goes, there are 2 verses, I believe. And both of those verses were written after Jesus died. Were not endorsed by Jesus. Jesus had no say in anything that happened or was said about the LGBT community. In fact, Jesus didn't say a word about the LGBT community. He said absolutely nothing. And if you believe him to be God, as some people do, you know, the Trinity or whatever, at the very least, even if you don't accept the Trinity or whatever, by the way, the Trinity is fake, but that's neither here nor there. Even if you don't accept the Trinity, I assume you still believe that Jesus had some special insight, some special knowledge that no one else had, right? Jesus should have known that people were going to pore over every word that he said, every comma, every period, every punctuation mark that he wrote down or that was written down about him. He knew people would pore over it for thousands of years after that, if he was God, or if he had some kind of divine insight, as he's supposed to have had. If that's true, why didn't he say a single word about the LGBT community? Not one. You think maybe it's because he didn't care? You think maybe it's because Jesus just wanted people to follow him, to love him, to be part of his movement? He accepted anybody and everybody. If you're rich, oh yeah, except the rich. He didn't accept those people. If you're rich, sell your things, give it to the poor, and follow him. Remember? At no point did he ever say he didn't like the LGBT community. Now, the other verses that mention it were Paul, after Jesus died, when he was trying to establish churches. And it could be argued that when he mentions, gay people being an abomination in those parts, it's a mistranslation. It's actually a reference to young boys, being with young boys, rather than a long-term adult gay relationship. So one could argue, if they wanted, the Bible is not anti-gay at all. But for sure, one could argue Jesus was not anti-gay at all. But you notice what Greg Locke is doing? As always, picking out verses that he likes. Picking out the ones he thinks will benefit him the most. Finding the stuff that justify his moral position. Not basing his moral compass on the Bible. but finding the verses in the Bible that fortify his already existing moral positions, which, by the way, is impossible to do any other way. Every moral proclamation the Bible makes is reversed a chapter later. It was a set of, I think, 33,000 verses written over the course of 3,500 years by dozens of different authors from different time periods of varying degrees of fame and influence and amounts of money that they had. They all had different perspectives on the world, every person that wrote a book in the Bible. And they all had different positions on morality. It is impossible for Greg Locke to get his morals from the Bible because it espouses so many different positions. But okay, let's keep listening to Greg here.
Celebrate something that you know God clearly calls an abomination in the Bible.
No, if you believe Jesus to be God, no, he doesn't.
It just doesn't. Now, listen, I cannot compromise the truth of Scripture for your kids, my kids, their kids, or anybody else's family. I know what the Bible teaches. And
well, what does Jesus teach? That's what I really care about, right? Like, I don't care about what the Jewish people teach. I don't care about what Paul said after Jesus died. I care about what Jesus said. Did he say something about gay people that I'm unaware of? The answer is no, by the way.
I know what the Bible teaches.
No, clearly he doesn't.
And the Bible teaches that pride is an abomination. Pride.
Okay, so he's latching onto this word pride. He doesn't like the word pride or the fact that the gay community uses it. Fine. You don't have to use the word pride if you don't want. You can use the word contentment or acceptance. Yeah, use the word acceptance. It's better. Use the word acceptance if you prefer rather than pride. That's really what it's about. Acceptance month. Accept who you are. Accept that you are this way and there's nothing wrong with that and you should live your life the way you want because you only go around this rock once. You only get one chance at this life thing that we're doing, and depriving yourself of something that depriving yourself of who you are and what you love and what you enjoy and what you like to do and who you want to be with is pointless. It's pointless in the end. And there's no reason to do it. Jesus never said a word about it, and it's between two consenting adults, so why does anybody care?
That pride is an abomination. Pride in sin is a double abomination.
Okay, and he's saying being gay is a sin.
So now we've decided that we would nationalistically and around the world take an entire month to celebrate something that God clearly says in his Bible grieves him.
Okay, like I said, Paul said that, I think in Romans, it said something to that effect, and it was really translated to be referring to young boys, not to adults, people in a consenting long-term relationship. Had nothing to do with that. And again, I don't care about what Paul said. I don't care about what, Moses or whoever said. I care about what Jesus said.
Because after all, love is love, not according to the Bible. Love ain't always love. Sometimes love is lust. Sometimes love is rebellion. Sometimes love is a disconnection and disobedience from the Word of God. Real love doesn't rejoice in evil. It rejoices in the truth. If we're making sense, say amen.
You're making no sense. I'm really trying to connect with this. I don't understand. I'm sorry. It is literally my job, okay, to sit here and listen to preachers say things and interpret what they're saying and try to make sense of the logical argument and break it down to be a little bit more manageable and translate it for a normal audience. And what he's saying here, this job I've had for 7 years, has not benefited me one bit because I can't understand what he's saying in this sentence. Is it just me, or is this just like complete nonsense, what he just said?
Disconnection and disobedience from the Word of God. Real love doesn't rejoice in evil. It rejoices in the truth. If we're making sense, say amen.
Okay, real love doesn't rejoice in evil. It rejoices in the truth. I don't know what that has to do with anything at all.
So I try to be kind in the way that I say that, but we have raised an entire generation of people that say, what you need to do is stay out of people's bedrooms. Hey, what they need to do is stay out of our public schools and stay off of Disney and stay off of Nickelodeon and stay off of Kellogg's box, right?
Yeah, that's just not happening. There isn't this big gay agenda that's trying to take over the world or whatever other thing. You know, there is an effort by those companies that he listed to push people being more accepting and love and not hate people for being different. That's what this country's built upon, by the way, not hating people for being different. I mean, there were people from Germany, from Russia, from China, from Japan, from everywhere, all around the world, came to the United States a couple hundred years ago because they wanted to be part of something new. This is a special place because it's so full of people from so many varying backgrounds, right? That's what makes us special. And now Nickelodeon, Disney, and whoever else have tried to help people embrace those values of acceptance and being part of a greater, diverse group of people. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want acceptance. He doesn't want you to be okay with the fact that people around you are different. He wants them to be the same as him. Christian, extremist, nutcase, cis, straight, white, male, preferably. But he'll accept people from any race. Just not any sexual orientation, I suppose. People clapping for this.
And so, we knew a long time ago when we gave same-sex marriage, you know, an unlawful benediction that the Supreme Court didn't even have. We knew back then it wasn't just going to stop, but didn't they say that?
Wait. He says an unlawful benediction. What's a benediction? The utterance or bestowing of a blessing, especially at the end of a religious service. So he says the Supreme Court gave gay marriage a benediction. Well, first of all, the Supreme Court is not a religious institution, much as he would love for it to be. And second, the Supreme Court wasn't giving gay marriage its blessing in a religious sense or anything. It just established the fact that gay people are allowed to get married, and there's nothing that states can do to stop that. Like, you can't discriminate against people just because you want to. They are just as protected as everybody else. That's the point that the Supreme Court made in their decision to allow gay marriage. But apparently Greg Locke views this as like a religious thing, okay?
That. All we want is same-sex. If you would just give us same-sex marriage, we would leave you alone. Let me tell you something.
Wait, who told you that? No, we're going to keep pushing and doing everything that we can to fight for more rights. Now that we got gay marriage, we're going to fight for the right for trans people to use the bathroom of their choice. And once we get that, we're going to push for more rights. We want more rights spread across the United States for as many people as humanly possible, as many consenting adults as possible.
Same-sex marriage, we would leave you alone. Let me tell you something. And I love the truth enough to say what's about to come out of my mouth. This ain't Sunday morning, it's Wednesday night.
Oh, God, this is going to be bad.
It has always been about the children.
Oh, my God. You remember what I said earlier, right? Did I say this earlier? I said this earlier, right? It's all about the children, huh? The children. Oh, the children. They're in danger. Won't somebody think of the children? It's always been about the children. They always go back to the children, don't they? Because that's the nature of a moral panic. They have to scare people and make them think that people are coming for their children. And they have to scare the children. Make them think that they're going to be forced to do something they don't want to do.
I have told my children that they have to marry.
Remember, it's always been a political tool that people use against their perceived enemies. Someone has to think about the children. Okay, so how are we going to think about the children here, Greg? I'm going to be disgusted by the end of this, aren't I?
It has always been about the children. It has always been about the children. It wasn't about same-sex marriage. It's always been about these pedophiles.
So there you go. Greg Locke in Pride Month 2021 explaining his position. You know, somebody on Twitter not too long ago asked me how Greg Locke approaches the LGBT community as he called for their death. And I responded, well, actually Greg Locke responded and said, no, that's ridiculous. Apparently he just sits there and Googles his name all the time. Anyway, Greg Locke responded, no, that's ridiculous. And I said, as far as I can tell, Greg Locke treats them, Greg Locke has not called for their death, but treats them like garbage. Well, here's your answer right here. This is how he treats them. He accuses them of coming after children. If you're gay, you're coming after children. If you support gay marriage or gay anything, you're coming after children. Anybody surprised by this? By this response? By this position by Greg Locke? This is honestly what I expected. For good measure, let's just listen to him tell us about how smart he is. Mid-September 2021.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas. Facebook just makes people think I'm smart. I graduated from high school almost 2 years late with an 8th grade bonehead math degree. I failed pre-algebra 2 years in a row. I've never had business math, consumer math. I never even made it past pre-algebra. Never had real algebra. I hate math. Somebody say amen. Yes, you're like me. I get nervous when the Holy Spirit wants me to preach out of the book of Numbers. I hate math.
Okay, we get it. You're dumb as dog shit, and you're proud of that fact. So anyway, that's Greg Locke. That's his position on the LGBT community. Right now, things are ramping up. Okay, we didn't just cover Greg Locke, obviously. We covered Shane Vaughn. We covered a Wisconsin representative, Grothman. I didn't even get to cover John Zimmerak and what he had to say. Unglued from reality, man. I'm telling you. It's ramping up now that Pride Month is here. People are losing their minds over it. And honestly, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So I'm here to laugh at them. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.